Okay, surface area to volume ratio. This is also an important concept. It's basically the same thing that I just told you in the last slides. So the amount of surface area affects the ability to get material in and out of the cell. The higher the surface area, the more efficient the exchange of the substances. The smaller the surface area, the slower the exchange of the surface area. Let me give you an example. In our lung, in human lung, we know that it is for exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide. Let's say if you take out the lung and then flatten it out, so that you expand all the surface area of the lung to put it on the ground. So take a guess, how large is your lung, or what is the surface area of your lung? Your lung. So it turns out that the total surface area of your lung is approximately as large as a tennis court. Yes. This is how much surface area we use to exchange carbon dioxide and oxygen. As cells increase in volume, yes. So what it tells you is the same thing that I told you before. The larger the cell, the lower the surface area. So size is directly proportional to the volume. But both size and volume, they are inversely 1 over the surface area. 1 over surface area meaning that inversely proportional. So size and volume, they are directly proportional to each other, but surface area is inversely proportional to size and volume. That means the larger is the cell size, the larger is the volume, but the smaller will be the surface area. Okay, this is what I showed you before. This 1 4 centimeter cube is basically one large cell. And then you have 8 2 centimeter cubes. These are the, well, I'll say smaller cell. Then you have 64 1 centimeter cube. They all have the same volume in total, but the surface area of the 64 1 centimeter cube is the highest. That's why we want to keep our cell as small as possible to increase the surface area for exchanging a material. Now we do it mathematically. So the surface area, this is 24. You see that it is increasing. If it is increasing the surface area, okay. Oh, we're talking about one cube. So the volume of one cube is also increasing. But when we divide the surface area with the volume, you can see that the ratio is dropping. The best one is this one here. Because it has the highest surface area to volume ratio, 3. This one gigantic cell This gigantic cell here, it has a very low surface area to volume ratio, not even is 0.75. We always want to have a high surface area to volume ratio. We don't want this. We want this, so that it can facilitate, it can speed up the exchange of the materials. And when we convert the surface area to volume into a sphere, because most of our cells, they are in a spherical shape, then you can see the differences. So the surface area to ratio here, you can see the differences is even larger. So if the cell is very small, radius is only 1, surface area is 12.6, then the volume is 4.2, surface area to volume is approximately 3 again. But look at the large one, radius is 8, then okay, this. Well, this is 1/3, 1/2 to 1/3. Well, let me see. So this, the surface area to volume is less than 1, approximately 0.376. As you can see that it is like 10 times. Approximately 10 times differences. Last but not least, okay, structure follow function. This is a very important rule in anatomy. We have different cell type and different shape of the cell. You can see that nerve cell, my favorite, neuron. You have this. We call this dendrite. The dendrite looks like the branches of a tree. So my question is, how come tree has extensive branchings on the tree? I'll let you think about this 5 seconds. Okay, time's up. So some of you may have come up with an idea that, oh, a tree have so many branchings because they want to grow leaves on all the branchings so that it will maximize the capturing of the sunlight, correct? So that is the reason why tree has so many branchings. But for neuron or nerve cell, why do we have so many branching called dendrite? Similarly, they want to maximize making connection with other neuron, with other cell. So the more neuron, the more nerve cell they connect to each other, the smarter you are. And then you have different cell type. Let me see. Okay, sperm and eggs. Ovum meaning eggs. As you can see, that sperm is the only human cell that has the flagellum. And then blood cell, you have different type of blood cell. Red blood cell here. And then you have 5 types of white blood cell here. If you take anatomy or physiology, then you are required to know all 5 types of white blood cell. Since we are only in the introductory biology class in here, you don't need to. If you are so unfortunate, take my anatomy or physiology, then I'll require you to know all these cells. Muscle cells, yes, if you take my anatomy and physiology, you also need to know the muscle cell. We have three types of muscle cells. Skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is the one that you see every day. You know, when you go to gym, you know, all the muscular guy, they are the one that is training the skeletal muscle, and skeletal muscle is voluntary, meaning that we can consciously control the contraction or relaxation. Smooth muscle cells, they are involuntary. That means we cannot control the contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscle cell. Where do we find the smooth muscle cell? We can find smooth muscle cell in our GI tract, our digestive system, and also around the blood vessels. Last but not least, cardiac. Cardiac muscle cell. Cardiac muscle, you can find cardiac muscle cell in your heart only, in your heart. It is also involuntary. Glands. Glands, they are the cells, they will do secretion. As I told you before, why do we need to learn about transcription translation, the central dogma? Because let's say your saliva, I told you that your saliva contains an enzyme that's called amylase, right? Amylase, you can break down starch, and how do we make amylase? Well, amylase is an enzyme, that means it's a protein, and it is made by protein synthesis that we talk about in the central dogma. So in other words, these gland cells, they do a lot of this protein synthesis, central dogma, so that they can secrete, let's say, enzyme amylase to your saliva. So yes, that's the end of today's lecture.